Here with us. Please put your hands together as I would like to now call and invite upon stage Shri Jyotiraditya M. Shindya, Honorable Union Cabinet Minister for Ministry of Civil Aviation and Ministry of State Government of India. This conversation, ladies and gentlemen, is a unique opportunity to gain valuable perspectives on the current state and future perspectives on the infrastructure sector. All the very best, Megha, and sir, looking forward.
So, sir needs no introduction, and sir, nobody knows the aviation space better than him right now. I'm glad that you have agreed to even take a few questions from the media from the delegates who are present here. Before we take those questions, can we start with the discussion, on the air passenger traffic as we talk about and the recovery that it has shown from the pre-COVID levels, plus it is record in the first 9 months. So if you could tell us more about that.
So first of all, thank you very much for having me. And as lady of ceremony said, a nice crisp wintry morning. Our job starts much early at 0500 in the morning when our planes start taking off. But nevertheless, it's wonderful to be here. Let me congratulate ET on their maiden infrastructure summit. Megha has always done a tremendous job in terms of heralding the infrastructure space. So it's great to be here this morning. On civil aviation, very quickly, few standout points in the last 8 to 9 years, starting with the question that's been asked of me. Just want to correct your figures from your speech. In the last 8 months, compared to CY 22, CY 23, Jan to October, 10 months, passenger traffic has been at close to about 12.8 crores. So it's about 128 million compared to 9.88 crores CY22.
I was just basing it on infra report, which was financial year.
Which looks at roughly a growth of 26.98%. Month on month, we are growing at about 10.5%. This month of November has been a standout month. Pre-COVID, we were going through a high of roughly 420,000 passengers per day. We broke that high sometime in April, May, which was off-season, where we hit numbers of 430, 440, 450. 25th of November, successive 5 days, we've hit a record of 467,000 passengers traveling per day. So civil aviation and air travel is on an upswing. Now the reason for that, Prime Minister has laid the bedrock and the foundation for this sector over the last 9 years. In a country which had only 74 airports built over 65 years of independence, in the last 9 years we've built 75 airports, heliports and waterdromes, taking that number to 149. Our work doesn't stop here. Our target is by the year 2030, we want to take that number to 200 or 220. Just to give you a flavor of what has been done in the last couple of months and what intends to be done until Q1 of 24, which means 31st March of 24 or thereabouts. You're looking at inauguration of a new terminal in Surat, air terminal in Surat this weekend by the Prime Minister, which is roughly 350 crores. New integrated terminal in Lucknow by the end of Q1 next year, which is about 2,000 crores. You're looking at a new terminal in Gwalior, my hometown, 500 crores. A new terminal in Jabalpur, 412 crores. A new terminal in Kolhapur, 260 crores. A new terminal in Pune, almost about 500 crores. In the state of UP, you're looking at Moradabad, Azamgarh, Aligarh, Chitrakoot, Shravasti, 5 airports in the next 4 months with connectivity, all ranging between 100 to 300 crores. Riva and Datya, the famous Mapidambara Beach, and Riva Airport will be functional by March, April next year, close to 200 crores each. And then the much awaited Navi Mumbai Airport with its first runway and first landing, and the analogous airport to Delhi Airport, which will be Jewar, both by October, November of 24 will be operational in their first phase. So you're going to look at a transformation near term over the next 2 to 3 months. Tiruchirappalli also is ready, which will be done by the Prime Minister, and also Ayodhya. Before the Pran Pratishtha of Ramlala, Ayodhya Airport will also be ready. So you've got a slew of infrastructure happening. And to the point that was made by you, you've got a capex plan of close to 98,000 crores over the next 3 to 5 years in the area of civil aviation. Close to about 20 to 25,000 crores of that 98,000 crores will be developed by Airports Authority of India alone. Looking at 3 greenfield airports, out of which one has been built in Halongi, Arunachal Pradesh, a state which had no airport for 65 years, today has 3 airports in Arunachal Pradesh, and 2 other greenfield airports and 42 brownfield airports. The private sector will be doing about 60,000 crores of investment over 3 greenfield airports and about 7 brownfield airports. So that's the scale. Everything that Prime Minister does in this country is not incremental. Everything that he does is monumental. And that's what India needs today on the infrastructure side. 10 lakh crore capex plan, you were talking about highways. India's had 91,000 kilometers of highways built in 65 years. In the last 9 years, we've taken that number to 1,45,000 kilometers of highways. So 50,000 kilometers built in 9 years versus 65,000 kilometers built over 90,000 kilometers built over a period of 65 years. So the change, the delta, has been monumental across multiple streams.
And the cities that you mentioned about are mostly the tier 3 and tier 2 towns. While deciding on the traffic that has picked up, has it picked up from those towns, or there is a clear, or in terms of strategy, building new airports?
Civil aviation, Megha, has to be about what the Prime Minister has talked about. The whole scheme that has been put in place, पूरे देश का आम नागरिक. Civil aviation, what's the biggest change in civil aviation that you've seen post 2014? Civil aviation was always the privy of a few in our country. All of us seated in this room. The one change that the Prime Minister has brought about is that he has democratized civil aviation. Civil aviation now is accessible, affordable for every single citizen across this country, which explains the numbers. 2014-15, you had 6 crore travelers. Pre-pandemic, you had close to 14.5 crore travelers. I'm looking at that number going to 20 crores by the end of this decade. That's the multiplier effect. And if you want that multiplier effect, you've got to create a hub and spoke strategy. You can't concentrate only on your 6 metros. You've got to create that spoke strategy. And that's why under Udan, Pure Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, we built 76 RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme airports, waterdromes and heliports. So cities like Jharsuguda in Orissa wiped off the civil aviation map after the Second World War. Today a functional airport with connectivity to Mumbai and Delhi. Rupsi in Assam, Kishangarh in Rajasthan, Ajmer Sharif is, Darbhanga. These are airports today that are translating into traffic ranging from 50,000 to 5 to 7 lakh passengers per year. That's the transformation taking place. And why? Because of the point that I made, affordability. Today airfare is equal to first class AC fare or thereabouts. And the delta, because my competitor in railways is obviously first AC and second AC, because by its nature an aircraft is air conditioned, it's pressurized and air conditioned. You cannot have a non-air conditioned aircraft. And so if you take the passenger numbers on railways in first AC and second AC, you're looking at 18.5 crores. Civil aviation is at 14.5 crores at last count pre-pandemic, which I believe this year we will beat that number. I won't give you a number, but it will be a delta of that. It will be a positive delta of that. If you look at the CAGR of railways, the CAGR of railways is close to 5.6%. However, the CAGR of civil aviation is 10.3%. And therefore, in a period of time, 5 to 7 years, just extrapolating that CAGR, we are going to be ahead of railways in terms of only transportation of people compared to first AC and second AC. I'm not talking about the railway system in totality.
And when do we see that being completed, and what sort of traffic do you expected by the time they are completed, and what is the timeline for their completion?
So traffic projections I've already given you. I've said that we've gone from 6 crore to 14.5 crores in a period of 9.5 years. That's almost close to 140% increase. We're going to go from the current 14.5 crores to a minimum of 20 crores over the next 5 to 6 years.
So I'm talking about the new airports that you have planned.
All the new airports that I mentioned to you today, save Jewar and Navi Mumbai, will be ready by the end of Q1, beginning of Q2 of calendar year 2024. So I'm talking about March, April. The whole gamut of 16 or 17 airports that I mentioned to you will be inaugurated by March, April of next year, except Jewar and Navi Mumbai, which will be October, November next year.
Okay. The minister has agreed to take a few questions, and with the points that he made, I think they call for questions from the audience, because he's saying that by Q1 we will have a plethora of airports in the country. So, do we have any questions? There's one at the back.
Very good morning to you, Minister. I congratulate you on the excellent work done so far in the aviation industry. I have two questions. One is, I would request the ministry to make a sort of a panel which could just foresee, like, there is a demand but supply is less there. Like places like Vaishno Devi, if you want to book a helicopter ride, you've got to wait, I think, 2 or 3 months for that. So that's where you could, have something called as an active panel which could just foresee and then, rather than being reactive. Like places like Shimla, if I want to travel to Shimla, I would not get a seat for about a month or so, and then that too would be very expensive. So that's something which you could kindly look. The second question is, why can't we as a country...
So let me answer your first question.
Please.
You're absolutely right, and we are a proactive ministry and a proactive government and not a reactive one. So let me give you examples of that. We brought about a helicopter policy a year and a half ago when I went to Uttarakhand. We do a heli summit every year. And one of the things that I have seen is that the penetration rate of helicopters in our country is abysmally low. We need to have many more of that. And therefore, for making sure that we incentivize helicopter operations, we worked on a helicopter policy soon after I took over. And in 3.5 months, we announced waiving of landing and parking charges, and making sure that we have a heli portal up there for permissions, sensitizing 600 collectors across the country in terms of all the necessary requirements for setting up a helipad, how to operate a helipad. We did a training program for them. All of that is in place. In terms of capacity, that is something that the private sector needs to bring on. That's not something that I can push. I'm pushing a lot for aviation to take off, and we've seen some landmark deals, 470 aircraft with Air India happening, and I've been insisting for wide-bodied aircraft, because I'm sick and tired of my hub in my own country being in my neighbors on my eastern coast and my western coast, and I want to create a hub within India. And I'm very glad that we've got a very strong wide-bodied order in the Air India transaction, as well as the Indigo transaction of 500 planes. You've got A321 XLRs, which have a range of almost 6.5 to 7 hours. So we need to create that, but it's a deregulated sector. So that needs to be created by the private sector. I need to create the playing field so that entrepreneurs can come and operate. And let me tell you that through Udaan, 5 airlines have taken birth in this country, that regional airlines, small regional airlines that would never have done so. Flybig, Fly 91, Air Taxi, India One Air, and Star Air. 5 new airlines which are not talked about have taken birth in this country. So we've created that facilitative environment. With regard to Shimla, you're bang on. And that's one of the reasons why, what's the problem with Shimla? What's the problem with Kullu? The problem is that you have too many, on the OLS survey, I'm just using aviation language, but on the you have too many obstacles on the flight path. And therefore, ATRs and smaller planes are allowed to fly in, but with penalty loads. That means that you cannot fly with a full load of 72. Which is why Alliance Air went in and bought an ATR 42. So that you don't have a load penalty and you can come in with a full aircraft. And that today is also flying to Shimla. So that is very much on our radar. Your point is well taken, but I want to tell you that I'm ahead of your question and we've already put that systems in place.
Really appreciate it. Second question also you partly answered. My question was, why do we have to fly Middle Eastern airlines if we want to fly abroad? And how do you see, like in the next 4 years, 5 years, do you see India or Delhi?
So
or
the first
Mumbai
thing, you're absolutely bang on. You're a man after my own heart. Okay, that's something that I've been working on for the last year and a half. I finally brought DIAL, which is our Delhi airport, and Air India and Indigo on the table. We're working, our first aim is to work on making Delhi our first international hub, which means D2I, domestic to international, I2D, international to domestic, hub and spoke model. We're trying to create Delhi as that first model. One, so that's with regard to infrastructure on the ground. So Delhi today has a capacity of close to about 70 million. We're going to go to about 109 million throughput capability at Delhi airport by next year, which means we'll probably become the second largest airport in the world after Atlanta. That's the scale that India is looking at under Prime Minister's directive and under his attention. Which means that this is the first candidate to become an international hub. Now you need to have point-to-point flights, and if you offer a passenger a one-stop ticket, even though that may be cheaper, economic evidence has shown that a passenger prefers a direct flight, and therefore Air India, Indigo, other airlines, Akasa now. Amazing story. 1 plane to 20 planes in 12 months. Never heard before in the international aviation space. Last month I've given them rights to fly abroad. That's the kind of growth that you're looking at. That's the kind of entrepreneurship that you're looking at. I want more of my airlines, i.e. Indian Airlines, to fly point to point and beat this hub and spoke model and taxi service, which goes to our neighboring countries, and then they take our passengers elsewhere and get the maximum revenue out of our passengers. It should be our airlines that do it. And that's why this model is being worked upon, and I hope that within the next 6 to 8 months, we unfold it for all of you. You got a question? Yeah.
There was somebody here?
Yeah, there was a young man who put up his hand, but I don't know. I think he's become reticent.
Good morning, Honorable Minister.
You're young as well.
Thank you. My 2 points, I want to ask only 2 points. I am a safety professional, I am a poet, blogger also myself, Neeraj Tyagi, you can search me in Google also. And I am a safety professional. What are we using artificial intelligence in aviation safety, in aeroplanes? And my second point is, are we giving some concessions and some more facility to senior citizens of India? On these 2 points, just I want to ask something.
So, as far as your second question is concerned, it's a deregulated sector. I don't think the last thing you want is for a minister to be poking his finger into an area where we should not be poking our fingers, right? I really believe government's role has fundamentally changed under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's direction. What is our role? We have to stop being regulators. We've got to start being facilitators. when you go to a ministry, it should not be as if you're approaching someone for a favor or you're approaching someone across the table. I always believe in my ministry that we should not sit on square tables or rectangular tables. We should sit on round tables. Why? Because in your success lies our success. And therefore our hat has to be not that of a regulator, but our hat has to be that of a facilitator. And that's why I've set up 6 advisory groups, which I meet with on a regular basis, some on a quarterly basis, some on a 6-monthly basis. I have an advisory group for airports, one for airlines, one for cargo, one for MRO, one for manufacturing, one for regional airlines, one for helicopters. In fact, I met with 3 of them just day before yesterday. And I believe that it's my job to be able to service them. Whatever demands or whatever issues they have, I need to resolve that for them, so that if they grow, my sector grows and my passengers can actually avail of better facilities. With respect to the question on AI, we are using AI in our airports in multiple manners, in terms of looking at congestion and looking at traffic, recognition of data. That is already being used across the board. We've also got DigiYatra in place, as you all are probably aware. Some of you may have used it as well. It's operational at 13 airports now. I started it in, I believe, last year in 15th of August, Independence Day. We've got 5 metros out of 6 on it. Only Chennai is not on it. And we've got 8 other cities on it. My target for calendar year 24, in addition to the 13 that are operating, I'm going to put in place in the first phase 14 more airports, in the second phase 11 more airports. My 13 airports today carry 88% of my traffic in India. With these 14 more airports coming on board, 25 more airports coming on board, which takes the total number to 38, 96% of my passengers will have the facility of DigiYatra. We've had 35 million downloads, 91 lakh passengers that have used DigiYatra. And the experience is truly amazing. You're a vlogger, you're on social media, I'm sure you must be looking at the reactions. What used to take 12 to 13 minutes from entry to boarding gate now takes 3.5 minutes for those of you that use FRT, facial recognition technology, and DigiYatra. So please do use it, make your travel much more easier, much more facilitatory, and in that process help your fellow passengers as well.
You mentioned that you want more Indian airlines to fly overseas. I wanted to ask you specifically about more airlines flying to the Oceania side, or to the Far East, or to the Western Asia. Right now we have more traffic towards Europe and the Northern American side.
All that's going to change. You've got, I believe that there is tremendous potential for all the way down to New Zealand and Australia on the one hand, on the other hand, tremendous potential towards Africa. I am in favor and fully supporting point-to-point traffic, not only for Indian Airlines, but also for international traffic. So if African airlines want to come to India, more than happy, would love to facilitate them. Similarly, if Australian Airlines or New Zealand Airlines want to come to India, so direct point-to-point traffic, not only for our Indian airlines, but for international airlines as well. That's what's going to really get the international market going, and it's going to be great convenience for our passengers.
But can India replicate what Doha or Dubai or Singapore or Hong Kong?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're going to go way ahead of that. Because at the end of the day, if you look at the fact that we are today the 3rd largest domestic market, the 7th largest international market for civil aviation, and if you combine international and domestic, we're the 3rd largest aviation market in the world. With your fleet capacity going from 400 in 2014 to close to 700 today, with these 2 orders and many more orders on the anvil, growing to almost about 1,500 to 2,000 aircraft, if the numbers are going to fall out correctly, which is you're going to go to 20 crore traffic in terms of passengers, you're going to look at a huge amount of the world coming to India and a huge amount of India going to the world. We're a country of 140 crores people. We represent 17% of the world's population. We will be, I believe, within before 2047, the largest civil aviation market in the world.
Before 2047, that is the road, that is the map for aviation India. Before we let the minister go, we can have two more questions. Oh, we have more questions. Yeah, here.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I have got.
Just one.
Good morning, sir. I have got basic two questions. Like India is on the rise of setting new records and all that. Aviation market is exponentially growing. But my question is that when you think that any aviation company will come first, like last so many years, I have never seen any aviation company, like in the case list of IATA, always it comes, Qatar and all that. Nobody within under 10 also comes. So is there ministry thinking on this time? First question. Second, there is a lot of.
So let me answer your first question, right? You've got to look at हमारी दृष्टिकोण क्या है? हमारी दृष्टिकोण हो सकती है कि भैया अभी तक भी हम नहीं पहुंचे, ग्लास अभी भी आधा खाली है। दूसरी दृष्टिकोण हो सकती है कि भैया हम लोग प्रगति के रास्ते पर, हम होंगे कामयाब, ग्लास आधा भरा हुआ है, पूरा भरने वाला है। मैंने इसी इंटरव्यू में आपको संकल्प दिया है कि भारत विश्व का आज तीसरा सबसे बड़ा नागर विमानन क्षेत्र है और आजादी के शताब्दी के पहले भारत विश्व का सबसे बड़ा एयरलाइन एविएशन मार्केट होगा। आप यही कल्पना करो, 2014 में हमारे देश में 400 प्लेन होते थे। आज जो विनिवेश प्रधानमंत्री जी के आशीर्वाद से ही और उनके हौसले के आधार पे ही हो पाया है एयर इंडिया का, नहीं तो किसकी हिम्मत नहीं थी उस विनिवेश करने की। आज जो विनिवेश हुआ है एयर इंडिया का, उसी एयर इंडिया ने जितने प्लेन इस देश में थे 2014 में, उससे 15% ज्यादा 470 प्लेन का पहला ऑर्डर कर दिया है विश्व में। और ये विश्व का सबसे बड़ा ऑर्डर है पूरे विश्व के इतिहास में। In the history of civil aviation, is the largest order by any company, any single airline company in the world. And what happened after that? In 3 months, you followed that up with an order by Indigo of 500 planes, even bigger than 470. That's the potential. Believe in India, believe in yourself, believe in Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we will achieve and we will overcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. There is no doubt of quantity part, sir. I was mentioning about quality part. Second, my question is that
Even in terms of quality, ask all your international passengers who come here. The quality that you experience, I don't want to take particular brand names, okay? But the quality that you experience in our Indian carriers, the cleanliness, the OTP, on-time performance, the manner in which the crew addresses you. Asia is known for its hospitality, and India is the capital of hospitality. Atithi Deva Bhava. That experience you will never get in the rest of the world. So I'm telling you again, sir, believe in your country, believe in India, and we will get there.
I am proud of my country. The second question, there is wide gulf existing between civil aviation and military aviation.
Can we welcome Minister Sabananda Sohi?
Yes, please put your hands together as we have with us Honorable Union Cabinet Minister.
So straight after the skies, you have the water coming up.
Sir, last question. There is wide gulf existing between civil aviation and military aviation. Is ministry thinking on this line to bridge this gap?
Military aviation.
Civil aviation and military aviation.
So what's going to happen, and I think that's a very important and a good question. What's going to happen in this country is that the next growth curve, the growth curve that you experienced in civil aviation, 6 crores to 14.5 crores, going to 20 crores, 400 aircraft going to 700 aircraft, going to 1500 aircraft, 74 airports, going to 149 airports, going to 220 airports. You're going to see the next revolution, and I'm thinking of that word carefully before using it, coming in aircraft manufacturing. For the first time in India, you've seen an international major like Airbus plant its feet firmly on the ground on Indian soil. In Vadodara, you have a 25,000 crore investment between Airbus and Tata's. to manufacture the C295 aircraft in India. The order is 56 planes. 16 will be brought in on a flying condition from their facility in Spain. The balance 40 will be made all in India. Made in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. And think about the revolution that that will bring, not only in the airspace sector, but in all the SMEs, in all the ancillary companies. Think of the revolution that we went through in India on auto manufacturing. There was no scale in India. The last time you saw scale was Maruti. Today, India has become the third largest automaker in the world. And when a big company comes in and plants its foot, mother company, which is known in economic terminology as your OEM, original equipment manufacturer, then it sets up its ecosystem around it, of all its ancillaries. The same thing's happening with Airbus. They're going to source, Airbus and Tata are going to source close to about 5,946, if I'm not wrong, sub-assemblies from India. Radar equipment are going to be sourced from Indian companies, PSU, other companies. So that sector is going to grow. And when that grows, and I've spent a lot of time visiting facilities. Today you have Boeing's facility in India. You have Cullen Aerospace that makes the emergency chutes from aircrafts, which I hopefully we will never use, but that's being manufactured in India. All your seats and wire harnesses by Raytheon are being manufactured in India. Your ailerons that support the landing equipment on the wings, those are being manufactured by a company in South India. You've got Safran, the largest engine maker, putting in $150 million investment into India. So India is changing, and India is going to become, in the days to come, a source of aircraft manufacturing. The fuselages of the Apache helicopters used in America, they're manufactured in India. The appendages of the C-130J Hercules aircraft, which we've used in Operation Ganga, which we've used to bring our citizens back, those appendages are manufactured in India. The tail fins of the Boeing 737s, those are manufactured in India. It's something we don't know about, but it's happening already. So that revolution is here, sir, and I guarantee you that manufacturing of aerospace in India is going to take off in a big way as well.
Yes, the big thank you, sir. We are definitely waiting for this revolution with our arms open. I would request Megha ma'am to please extend a small token of felicitation.